Hola, ¿cómo estás? In this video, I want to talk a little bit about these things called articles and nouns. See, in English, we use them all the time, and we may not know exactly how to name these things that we use in a sentence all the time. The person, the student, the mother, the father, the people at financial aid, somebody at financial aid. For people in college, you probably had this conversation, more than a few times. So you may not have really known what to call the or a. You just used it. Of course, usually if you're born learning a language around your family, around your friends, you don't really question the rules too much. You just live and learn. In this case, I want to talk about a couple things in those sentences that you're using. And again, those are articles and nouns. And I'll start with an article. And what in the world is an article? Maybe I can give an example. In English, we use the, a, or some. They're unique in some ways. The is what's called a definite article, when you want to specify a little bit more about who or what you're talking about. The person at financial aid, you assume that someone you're talking to knows which financial aid person you're talking about. Or maybe you spoke to a person at financial aid. You don't really know who it was. Chances are you probably think that the person you're talking to really doesn't know who it was. Maybe you talk to some people at financial aid. Still pretty indefinite about who you're talking about. And in fact, a and some in English are what are considered indefinite articles. To kind of specify that you're not being as specific about who you were talking about. So how does this work in Spanish? More or less the same way, with of course a few exceptions. We start with definite articles in Spanish. El y la. Those are the for singular nouns. You notice I have two there, el and la. ¿Por qué? Why is that? El is used for masculine nouns. In Spanish, nouns and adjectives are distinguished by gender. And I hate to use that word, but in this case, to make things a little simple, we'll use gender. La is used for feminine nouns. And what I mean by masculine and feminine nouns sometimes isn't as apparent. And we'll get back to that. We'll drop some examples. So let's talk about our singular indefinite articles. Un and una. Again, remember the indefinite article usually means a, especially if you're talking about a singular noun. Right? So just like in English, you want to match up the singular definite article, well, in the case of English, the indefinite article, with a singular noun. And this is more so the case in Spanish, of course. El hombre, the man. El estudiante, the male student. La mujer, the woman. La estudiante, the female student. And let's use an indefinite article. Un hombre, a man, Un estudiante, a male student. Una mujer, a woman. Una estudiante, a female student. Now, let's get a little plural here. And this is something that English really doesn't have, and for definite articles anyway. We do have one for indefinite articles, and that's some. But first, let's talk about definite plural articles. Los, las. Both mean the, but they are definitely used for plural nouns. We're talking about more than one person or thing. Los hombres, the men. Los estudiantes, the male students, or in this case, it can mean the students in general, as long as you have a mixed group of men and women. Las mujeres, the women. Las estudiantes, the female students. Now let's talk plural indefinite articles. Unos hombres, some men. Unos estudiantes, some male students, or some students in general. Unas mujeres, some women. Unas estudiantes, some female students. So, those are just a couple examples of how you would use definite and indefinite articles. And remember, in Spanish, it's really important to distinguish by gender. Again, I don't really want to use that word because it does mean different things to different people, but in this case, I have to make it a little simpler. And also, singularity and plurality we want to distinguish from. To give an example, I want to say el if I mean just the man, los if I mean the man, un if I mean a man, unos if I mean some men.